So when I came back from work, I was so beat up and tired that I took a nap for about 3 hours, in and out. Like, I didn't sleep for those 3 hours. Dozed off, slept for a few minutes, woke up again, sorta dozed off, whatever. I told myself, I'm not hungry, but I want to eat. So I take a shower, recycle the top that I used on my before last video. Or was it my last video? I don't know, I didn't check. And then after 20 minutes of driving around town trying to decide what to eat, I get fucking Chick-fil-A. And that's when I discovered that I truly got issues. Just what on earth did I do before the internet existed in my life? Of course, I am younger than the internet, but I couldn't help but wonder, what did I used to do? How was my life before it became a regular everyday thing? Well, for starters, I was in school much more concentrated because I didn't have the internet as a distraction. Like, I would go on social networks while I would work on my homework, and it's not like it kept me from studying and making good grades and getting my homework done, but I just noticed how differently I manifested when I would study. Additionally, homework sometimes could take me a little longer because, say you had a project or an essay in which you have to come up with ideas for something. It's not like I could Google the answers. SparkNotes was my lifesaver during my junior and senior year because that's what I would use in my English classes to save myself from having to actually read the whole story. And my teacher, of course, was an older guy, so that made him wise and not easy to fool. So he actually knew of the existence of SparkNotes, of course, and the fact that they included good details, good summaries about the story. So what he would do is ask the dumbest of questions that, unless you read the story, you wouldn't know the answer to in a test. So that got me a few times, but the good thing is I would also listen in class and jot down some notes. And sometimes he would point out the stuff that we could expect to see in a test, so that made it easier. Also, before the internet existed, it was like I had video games instead, so it's not like I was a more outgoing person, more outdoors person, more social person. It just meant that my distraction was something else. But now with the internet, I wonder if my interest in video games disappeared because of the internet. But I don't think so. I think it was just a time thing because by the time I was playing video games the way I would play them, I had internet access, like easy, readily available for me. So I think it's just I outgrew them. Before the internet existed in my life, I also did not have a way to communicate with some folks outside of school or the neighborhood or you name it. Not everybody texts. And on the note of texting, I love how when I got unlimited texting, that's when people stopped texting me. Or that's when I haven't had the need to text anybody. That's one of my greatest pet peeves. I felt like my conversations were more fulfilling because people nowadays share you stories of things they have seen from the internet or in the internet, as opposed to saying, oh yeah, when I went to, say, the mountains, this happened. No, they're constantly asking me if I have seen the video about this, the meme about that. It's like, how about if you tell me stories about what's happening in your life, you know? To sum it all up, in my life, I really wasn't that different. I was still an indoor girl, and video games were the computers that I would use the most instead. can't say that it helps me be more sociable, except in some situations when I email someone about something that I otherwise wouldn't have been able to tell them in person for whatever reason. And also, I have met some great people online who I wouldn't exchange for the world. So, yeah, it's kind of tough to think about because the internet was sort of implemented into my life and it just looked like something that you just use like a tool. Now, had I been like a 70s kid or more of an 80s kid, maybe I would have been more mind blown. Um, or a 60s kid, where everybody else has had to experience the transition. But when you are born and something exists already, it's like it's not as shocking for you. The first time I ever used the internet that I can recall was when I was in fourth grade. Let's say fifth grade, because I feel like we still didn't really have a computer by the time I was in fourth grade. And if we had it, it wasn't like optimized for me to use it. Let's say back in late 2004. That's for sure. I do remember that's when I had it, that's for sure, without a doubt. I didn't know how to use the computer. I didn't know what it meant to go into the internet. During middle school, that's when I really learned how to use the internet, like the ins and outs of it. And now, of course, it's exploded to where businesses rely on it so much to conduct their stuff. Like my job, if it weren't for the internet, there's no way I could do it. It's crazy to think about if you had a massive outage, just how much it would impact civilization as we know it. So what are your experiences, or what were your experiences like before the internet existed, or before it existed in your life? What did you used to do? Do you miss anything about the times when the internet wasn't around? Does it take up a lot of your time? Yeah, just what was it like for you? All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you soon.